What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the SuperScope podcast, and happy Mother's Day. This is your wrap-up in this week's biggest gaming stories, leaks, and rumors. We're back with episode 30 on Sunday, May 8th, 2022. I am your host, of course, Retro Game Dude, and joining me as always is Daisuke Aurora of Phoenix Aurora Gaming. Feel free to join the discussion live on Twitch or Discord, and if you're watching this from YouTube, tap that like and subscribe button. It helps our channel out a long way, and, we like that. We appreciate it. So you can always find our audio versions of this podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and on Anchor. I did a thing last week and put us on SoundCloud, so you can find us there now. I don't have a link, but I could probably rustle one up real quick because I have a handy-dandy link and sponsors thing in my Discord now. So if you're a big SoundCloud fan, there's the link. If you're listening to the audio version, obviously you can't see the link. So all the more reason to watch us live. I'll throw the Discord link in there too. Boop. So, Daisuke Aurora, how the hell are you doing this week?
Good. I'm excited I can finally start my SoundCloud rap career.
Perfect. Me too. Uh-oh. My browser almost snuck off the screen. I couldn't even grab it. So let's get into the state of the stream this week. We have a recap and schedule, of course. So a recap, we played some Jackbox and some Gartic Phone last night on our community night. Had a good time. You were there?
I was there. It was the first week I had my new Ultra, so I had my drawing pen.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Let me say, the quality went up significantly. I was actually pretty impressed with some of the stuff you were drawing there.
Like the ability to actually draw, like I save a bunch of time being able to just straight up like tap go and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like so much you draw like with a mouse or whatever. It's so hard to get line work to like come out decent when you're trying to like mouse it.
It's a struggle.
It was much better to be able to draw. That's for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, glad to see it. We had a good time though. We had a good turnout. It was weird, but it was like cool to see like some of the Gartic Phone community hang out for Jackbox, and then a lot of regulars there too. Always glad to see those guys hang out, and they're always on par with the humor too. So I was glad to see. Our friend Love You Ray Jinx was there dog sitting, and I guess the dog has like a weird thing where you talk and it's just like gets in your face or something, so she couldn't talk. It's just really weird.
The dog was voice activated, yeah.
Right, voice activated woofer. So yeah, that's cool. We played some Star Wars this week, and we played some on May 4th, which is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, of course. So that was a good time. We wrapped up episode 3, I think, in one sitting, and we'll be on to episode 4 this Tuesday, and probably, I would say, starting episode 5 on Wednesday. So we have that, and of course, we'll be back for Jackbox this Saturday, too, and the old podcast every Sunday night, like the one you're watching right now. You playing anything interesting this week?
I don't think I played too much. I did Final Fantasy with I think I did with Dark on Thursday or something, or Friday. I don't remember when it was. We did the Alliance raid, I know that. And I played a little bit of Vampire Survivors, just winding down at night. I played Sonic 3 the other day, just for yesterday. Nice. For ha-has. I played like the first couple of acts, or a couple stages, I guess. Because I was listening to the music on YouTube to see if I could because talking about the whole thing with Michael Jackson's rights being tied into like the soundtrack and if they're going to be in the game and everything when they do the remake. And I was just listening to the Sonic 3 tracks to hear like if I can hear his influence here and there. And then I was like, you know what? If I'm going to like listen to the soundtrack, so I might as well just play through the game because I can still listen to the music while I play it.
Sure.
And so I fired it up and I got all the way to like third zone in, that marble one, maybe fourth zone in. Where like it's all big downhills, really sharp downhills outside greenery, stone pillars, and then I let the kids mess around with it for a few minutes, and then I put it down and just kind of went and called it a day.
Nice.
Marble
Zone?
Stuff. I think it was Marble Zone, yeah.
Was it Marble Zone?
Or was it Marble Hills, maybe?
I forget. It's in Sonic 3, right?
Right after the water stage.
Yeah, Aquapolis, is that what the hell
Aquapolis.
Is? Yeah.
Yep, it was right after that. So
I forget which one that's called. I know what you're talking about, though. It has like all the weird orange trees and shit and the weird drill spider thing. It's got like four-legged drill robot. I forget what the hell that thing is. But yeah, that's a cool level. I like that. That's cool. That's all you got this week?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't.
I was gonna
Yeah,
try that mana game on the phone, but then you told me that it was a gotcha, and I was like, oh, I'll just hard
yeah.
pass.
I was like, oh, cool, mana game. We'll try it. Like maybe it'll be like one. It'll be like one good mobile game. No, Android and Apple is running a solid streak on having just shit games on mobile phones.
Dude,
So
I felt bad too because Final Fantasy 14 made an announcement that they're doing another Nier Automata crossover with
mhm,
Nier Reincarnation, and I was like, oh, but that game sucks though. Like,
right,
once you get to a certain point where it gets way too hard, and they scale it up, so you have to like start spending resources. And they were like, oh, look, we're doing a crossover with FF14 Shadowbringers with Emmett Selk, and it tells like the story of Emmett Selk and everything. And I'm like, oh, see, because I want to interact with that, but
right.
it is not worth the struggle,
It's going to cost you a
the
fortune to do it.
hassle.
Right, it's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
not worth
exactly.
it.
No, so dumb.
Gotta hate it. Hate it so much. I didn't really play much this week either, except stuff on stream, of course. But I did
Mhm.
try a new game on Game Pass. I dusted off Game Pass after I finally got my virus software to stop grabbing shit at. I don't know if it was throwing false positives or what, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna try Game Pass out for the first time in months. Download a
Mhm.
game, quarantined it immediately. I'm like, all right, cool. Um,
Nice.
yeah, good shit. So after I unquarantined the software and reinstalled it, um, I had a good time with it's called what the hell is it called? Citizen Sleeper. Really
Mhm.
bizarre game. You're kind of a character where you sold your conscious and you sold your body to a corporation, and your conscious gets transferred into a robot or an android, and you end up on a space station. You don't know how you got there, but you were on the run for this corporation. Um, the game is played very much like conversation checks, kind of like very D&D ish.
Mhm.
The game is based on a kind of like dice rolling kind of thing where you get a certain set of dice every day, 1 through 6, and 6 being your better chance of success or guaranteed success. Um, and then you rest, but then you find out you have like a deteriorating issue with your body, and if you don't repair it, then you lose dice every day. So you only start with 6, and then if your body degrades, you get like 5, then 4, and obviously you're not as efficient. Um,
Yeah.
but it's cool. It's more text based than I thought it was going to be, but I still enjoy it. So I mean, if you're out there and you enjoy those kind of games, I would definitely give that a try. It's almost like Disco Elysium without much environmental movement. Um, if you're into Disco Elysium, I would say give this one a shot. You'll probably like it because it's got like a really dark tone to it. If you're into that sort of thing, so definitely check that out. And if you have Game Pass, it's free, so you have nothing to lose. And of course, playing like Final Fantasy 14, and I didn't really get to do a lot with that this week either. Just kind of like some retainer maintenance and dicking around with that.
Mhm.
I finished up. I don't know if it was even this last week. I finished up my gatherers and crafters all up to level 90, so now I just got to focus on getting them maxed out and shit. So that's where we are
Yeah,
with that.
definitely.
The one thing I did figure out was how to do my green screen get working because I got a new camera. Um, so we're doing some background experimentation. So we have that rolling. That's pretty nice.
There you go. Yeah, I like your choice of background.
What do we have going on back here? Oh, look at that. Well then,
The
we'll talk about that later in the show. That's for sure.
Buster Sword.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna talk about the Buster Sword for sure.
Okay, I went for a classic. I did the Hermes Venus.
I love it. Best meme. All right, so let's talk about some social media accounts. Of course, Twitter and Instagram, I am Game Dude Retro, and TikTok and Twitch, Retro Game Dude, and that's pretty much it. We do have a quick word from our sponsor. Not exactly a show sponsor, but if you go over to handheldlegend.com and use the code RetroGameDude at checkout, you save $10 off your first purchase, or you can go to handheldlegend.com/RetroGameDude and do the same thing. So if you're into system modifying like I am with older systems, putting backlit screens in your old Game Boy Color, like so. Oh, well, that doesn't show up with a green screen whatsoever. Oh, I love it. Definitely take a look at those. Take a look
Wow.
at them. They're good. They have a really good shop. They have everything from like rose-colored gaming with their epoxy or acrylic stands, and V2 screens for your Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advances, new shells, replacement shells, shells that are very, very stylized. So definitely give them a shot. They're pretty dope. All right, so let's get into some quick headlines because I'm not out of breath from that already. Um,
Yeah.
Horizon Forbidden West director teases a third game, so look forward to that, Horizon Forbidden West fans. According to a leaked presentation, GTA 6 could launch in the second half of 2024. That is something, obviously, pretty huge news. So we'll see, when more news develops out of that.
Yeah.
Babylon's Fall has just dropped to one concurrent player on PC.
My God, I saw that.
Poor son of a bitch.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a shame. And that was, I guess, Platinum trying to dive headfirst into games as a service and miserably failing. So hopefully, I don't want to see a game fail, but hopefully that kind of sends off a warning shot to that company to like not fucking waste their time with that stuff. So
Yeah, like it's one of those like like I hop on my YouTube and my YouTube is flooded with people making memes out of Metal Gear Rising because everyone likes it so much. And you're telling me they looked at that and they were like, well, we've got popular IPs we could make more stuff in, or dump everything and go into like games as a service. And they're like, yeah, why don't we just go games as a service instead of doing what people are asking for?
yeah, yeah, it's not me that's wrong; it's everyone else.
Congrats on your one active player. It's
Yeah.
great.
New Mafia prequel is announced to be in development too. So people who are the big fan of that series, go check that out. I didn't play the third one. The first and second one I really, really enjoyed. So I definitely look forward to that prequel. I'll definitely be checking that out. Also reported that Outrisers did not make a profit in 2021, and I think we talked about that on the show before about Square Enix and their pay structure, and people can flag probably not walking away with a lot of money out of this bag, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But hopefully they start. Maybe they'll start making some money on the expansions that they have coming out. I think we do have one coming out in June.
hmm
And they did fix the game. So if you've bought it and you walked away from it because you were angry because it didn't work right or it kind of sucked, go try it out. They definitely fixed it with that huge patch, and it's worth the try, I think.
Yeah, significantly better.
Yep. We also have a rumor that Xbox plans to launch a streaming device and Samsung TV app in the next year, which kind of concretes and cements the idea that they are getting away from hardware and looking at trying to kind of redefine themselves as a more streaming service, which we have
Right.
seen with Game Pass. And it's kind of the direction that we've seen them going in the last couple of years, and it's really not a shock to anyone at this point. So that's what we
Yeah.
have for quick headlines this week. You want to talk about it more?
I got a kick out of the start of the segment where you like held your hands up over like Tifa and you were like, look at this, look how cool this is. Oh wait.
Nice. Fair enough. All right, let's get into the big stories of the week. Halo Infinite not doing so hot with season 2. And this was kind of a pivotal moment for them, and they really needed to pull this off to prove that 343 to prove that they could make this game work. And it didn't go over very well, I would say, with most of the gaming community, save for a few hardcore Xbox apologists at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do we see? We saw them locking a challenge slot in the middle of season 2's release.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, they made it so you have to purchase the new season to be able to access that slot in the old season.
mhm. And the big push was, and this was kind of like threw everyone for a loop, that you could buy the old season content retroactively and play it and level it up. And this is kind of going against that grain. It's very counterintuitive to that statement, I think. And it's not well liked. That's for sure. So they released a statement either today or yesterday saying that they apologize. They're going to relook at this and they're going to give an XP boost to everyone again because they fucked up again. I don't know. Things aren't really looking for too great for this IP at this point. 343 has demonstrated this is their third soiree into this, and they just cannot get Halo right.
Yeah.
They're talking about a beta of Forge in late summer, early fall. A beta. So where was this development that they supposedly had going on with this game? Like, if they're just getting a beta out to us now, 2 years after they were supposed to have the game out, it leads me to believe that it didn't exist in the first place. So,
Right. It's just, I feel like it's like a weird deja vu thing because we keep getting these articles where it's like X component of Halo Infinite is off to a rough start or like a rough rough new season or rough this, rough that. Like it's been bad since launch. Like
Right.
every time they do something, it's like, yeah, so this turned out this wasn't so good. They did this wrong. They did this badly. Kotaku Australia has an article literally just called "Halo Infinite can't catch a break," and they're not wrong. But it's like not like it's a fluke or anything. They keep making mistakes. It's kind of
Right.
on them.
Yeah, absolutely on them.
And that's tough. I mean, I always laugh when I see people who are like, "Oh, Xbox doesn't have any games right now," and they're like, "Well, yeah, you act like we don't have Halo," and it's like, you want to actually act like you have
We want
Halo?
to
I
talk
mean, we can
about
talk about.
Halo.
I will change my stance from Halo from Xbox has no games to Xbox has Halo Infinite, but I think that makes this whole statement worse. I don't think you want to go down that road with me.
Right.
Like, you
And I
should
mean,
just be like, "Yes, we have no games," and just leave it at that.
yeah, I got some screen grabs on Twitter of them Xbox making a post like, "What are you playing this weekend?" And like, sure as shit isn't a Halo. Let me see if I can find some comments quick because they were
Um,
pretty brutal.
on a slightly separate, because it's not Microsoft directly or 343 directly, but I feel like it's Halo Infinite and therefore related. I'm sending you a link to another article from Game Rant talking
Gamer.
about how the summary is that a Halo Infinite competitor in the Halo Championship Series of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
The first season to be played on Halo Infinite, he did a big like Twitter thread saying that like Halo Infinite's the worst Halo game we've ever had. I can't defend this game. It's unplayable. It makes it hard for me to even do my job. The Halo Championship Series fined him for saying that. So that's a
Mm.
thing.
That sure is. Oh man. First season play of Halo Infinite started in this past December and continued to be a total 8 events. Yikes.
Yep.
Gotta love it. Yeah, so let's go over some responses to Xbox's post here. These are players. So this is their audience saying this. This isn't like
Yeah.
Sony fanboys going out and trashing them or just assholes in general. These challenges are a massive L to Infinite's fun factor. This another one. Ditch challenges. Let us progress by playing. Same
Oh
stance to be
yeah.
honest. I already have 10 other plus ones. I'm not seeing the need to finish weeks of Ultimate Challenge. That they should these should give me FOMO, and I'm not feeling it. That's a weird argument to make, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
That's definitely
I
not.
don't want the FOMO. That's kind of where I'm at with that. Um, let me
I should be being manipulated emotionally, and I'm not. Okay.
right. Please stop making game mode specific challenges if I cannot queue for that game mode directly. I love getting win to oddball matches, challenges, and not even being able to play oddball because quick play keeps putting me in attrition, and even then, I still have to win to progress. I'm begging y'all to scrap the challenge system, even when it does work. Challenges for game modes that are not easy to find, like oddball, again, pretty much the same thing, which exists
Mhm.
only on 2 maps, seems unfair. Why not bring commendation-based challenges back from Reach? Like, why don't they have like a bounty
Yeah.
system like Destiny does? Like that just seems like a
I
no-brainer.
don't know. It's
Like
yeah.
of
It's
all the things
definitely
that you should copy, it's stuff that works. These challenges
Mhm.
are a massive L to Infinite's fun factor. Yeah. Remove backsmith challenges and maybe I will. Use active camo, easiest backsmith knows man. Okay. Honest question: do you believe that this is worthy of reward or compelling weekly challenges? This looks like a stance that one of the free default selections. Gameplay is amazing. Systems are bad. I want to love Infinite. Please let me. that's that's rough criticism for what we're seeing right now. And I mean, the challenges. What do we get out of this season? 2 maps, 2 multiplayer maps. That's it.
Yep.
And they're stale. People are already saying like they're not good. They're not balanced. They're not intriguing. And it's a huge letdown. So
Like in our community, Claire played it and she quit because she was falling through the floor and stuff. And it was like,
yeah,
oh, okay, that's just normal, I guess. Killed
yeah,
by the Guardians, just the standard feature, right?
right.
No, I just it's man, if there was ever a truer statement, just like I want to love Halo, just let me is like has been happening since Halo 4 for me. Like,
100%. I used to love the series, man, and I got out at Reach because um,
hmm
I just kind of had a feeling that 343 was not going to be able to carry the torch that Bungie had in this game. And
yeah,
obviously, Bungie went on to do bigger and better things. A game like Destiny is 100 times. Even Destiny 1 is more dynamic than Halo in its current state. And what do we get in
yeah,
Halo? A fucking hook shot? Like that's their answer to like more advanced mobility in the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I did play 4 for a whole bunch, and it was like 4 was like that weird like what's a good way to explain it? You ever have like a food place that you really like to go, and then you notice like they change like owners,
Hmm.
and you keep going for like a few weeks or even like a month or two, and you're like, yeah, it's still my favorite food place, and then you slowly start to realize every time you go there that it just doesn't, it's not the same, and it sucks now.
Yep.
And then finally one day you're just like, all right, fine, yeah, I get it, it sucks, I guess, and you put it down. That's what happened with me. Like after a few months of playing Halo 4, I was like, this, I can't justify playing this game anymore. Like.
Right.
Yeah, and then especially when like Destiny came out, and it was like, oh, I can get my Bungie fix over here and not have to worry about playing Halo ever again. And then of course they countered by being like, what if we make Halo 5 a giant bait and switch that doesn't feel good at all? And I was like, okay, great, yeah, you guys are on it.
And what if Bungie was like, we're going to put the Halo battle rifle in our game, and it's going to be a better battle rifle experience than what Halo Infinite has, which is none.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so, yeah, I don't. It's just I don't think that 343 can pull this around at this point. And they're talking about doing like Fortnite style gaming, which I guess it'll breathe a little bit of life into it, but I just don't think that this is going to be the game that anyone wanted at the end of the day. And I don't think at this point they had their opportunity to dump money into this game to make it fleshed out to the way that everyone wanted it, and they missed that by a mile. So,
Yep.
Yep.
And it's kind of wild because it's like maybe I'm being a little too mean here, but like, how do you fuck this up? Like, I don't know. It just feels like they could have basically been like, we took Reach and made it better, and it would have been like, okay, fine. How do you
Right.
mess this up? Like, you guys were handed a working formula already. How did like how do you go to make a game like Halo Infinite with the season pass tracks and everything? And you look at Destiny, you look at Pokemon Unite, you look at mobile games, you look at gacha games, you look at all these other games that are doing system passes and running experience bars, Magic Arena, and you're like, you know what? We can definitely do that worse. And then you do it worse.
Right.
Like, why? What do you mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
oh my god.
I don't get it.
What if we took the system from Halo Reach that gave you cosmetics and just made it like a upfront in your face feature, and then removed the parts of it that made it doable, like earning experience after every game, no matter what, or earning stuff more for winning or getting medals. Getting experience for medals. How is that not a thing anymore? I don't. I don't get it.
Mind-boggling. It blows me the fuck away. I don't understand it.
They like went to rip the system out of Reach, and when they went to pull it, like it split in half, and they were just like, "Whatever, we don't need the other half."
Yeah,
Like,
but that's all the good parts. Fuck it.
yeah, the part where you earn experience. Like,
Yeah. I don't know. So I guess we'll move on to our next story. Good segue, I guess, at this point, as far as dumpster fires are concerned. And Xbox Live, not very live right now. Well, it's back up. It was down for 2 days. And for 2 days, no one could play any games on Xbox because their games require always online DRM.
yeah.
And as someone pointed out on Twitter, it's wild to see the attitudes change for this because this sunk the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Or for the most part. This is why Xbox is still in a mode of recovery from the last generation, because this announcement at E3 or whatever announcement it was, or whatever showcase it was, they said that they were going to have always online DRM, and they said if you don't like it, stay on your Xbox 360, which is not something the head of an Xbox or a game console company should be saying. So yeah. Anyway, so here we are. Xbox Live goes down, and for 2 days, the guys no one on Xbox could play any game, online or offline.
Yeah.
So it really opens the discussion as to the need for online DRM. Obviously, it's not well received in the gaming community as a whole. So
Yeah, I mean, we've had stories in the past, maybe even pre-podcast, there were stories of like Doom 2016 having heavy DRM added after the fact and then removed very quickly because it like was causing a lot of problems for the game.
Breaks the games.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I shot you a link real quick. It was one I found while I was watching people talk about this, that Xbox actually has more outages than PlayStation Network overall.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't hear about it because PlayStation people usually just don't mention it, or if they do, it's whatever. But Xbox people will never talk about the Xbox outages when they happen. So it's really funny. Like in this case, for example, I saw like one of the big names on Twitter who usually talks nonstop about PlayStation, about GT7 going down, about PlayStation Network having an outage for Christmas one year, like, and now there's like 2 days of Xbox down, and everyone's like, "Hey, where's this guy?" And it's like, "Oh, he's doing something else. He's not talking about this. Go figure." PlayStation Network goes down for 8 seconds, and he like makes a whole video about it, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I sent you that link for that. It's Xbox is number 6 in terms of outages, like overall outages,
Jesus.
as opposed to PlayStation Network being number 9 by
Still not a great look, but
no, but it's about a 20% difference. So it's not like it's close. It's not like it's super close, and people seem to make it seem like it's PlayStation's always down when it's not.
Discord's way up there. I never really noticed Discord going down. That's
You know what
wild.
it is with Discord? I don't know if you ever noticed, but sometimes when you log into Discord, one of your servers will have like a red circle with an exclamation point,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because one server in particular is down. So you
so it's
often
kind
won't
of like
notice it.
node network.
Yeah,
You don't notice
you won't
it.
notice it unless it's your own server. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Which I've only ever had to be my server like once or twice, I think.
I'll tell you what goes down a lot is that fucking Pokemon bot in your Discord.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, it's ridiculous how
Holy
often they post
shit.
in there, and they're like, "Yeah, so the Pokemon bot's broken."
Yep. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this an old post? Nope, no, this was 5 minutes ago. I'm like, okay.
What is it? It's May right now, right? And
Yeah.
they just did the winter event Pokemon from Christmas because the like redeems were down since Christmas until now. And they just finally fixed it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you can redeem to get Christmas Pokemon." It was like,
Holy shit.
my brother in Christ, it's like summer.
It's 80 degrees out, my friend. Oh, wild. Holy shit.
And they were like, "Yeah, you have a week to redeem," and everybody's like, "Yeah, okay." It's been down for 5 months, and you gave us a week to redeem. Okay, cool.
That's all you get. 1 week?
Yeah, insane.
All right, so we had some news come across the old SuperScope desk the other day. You brought it to my attention. That was the Persona launch, or Persona Orchestra, Persona Concert. And that always brings news of Persona IPs. So would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. So if you go back and look, let me pull up something real quick to just double check dates, because they did a couple concerts. They did a concert like every 2 years or so, like spaced apart.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 2015, 2017, 2019 or so.
I noticed they had one last year too.
Was it last year maybe as well?
But they do have one this year.
Let me see.
Which is also interesting.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, the previous concerts they've done have revealed Persona 5, Persona 5 Royals, and Persona 5 Strikers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even before that, I believe there might have been one prior. But let me see if I can dig up any information on that. But we've got Persona 6 is confirmed, but we don't have a reveal video yet. We just know that the concert's coming. Over the summer, Atlas launched a website dedicated to Persona's 25th anniversary, and that was last summer, stating that 7 exciting reveals are on the way, starting with the first one in September. New merchandise in Persona 6 were confirmed soon after. The thing that they gave us was Persona 5 Strikers. I believe Strikers was from like the 2019 concert.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been the 2021 concert though. Let me see. I had a thing about this the other day, and now I have to figure out where I put it. I mean, at this point, Persona 6 is basically a no-brainer. That's going to be the next thing.
Sure.
There could be other stuff like they've done. I mean, I don't know if you're big into Persona, but they've done Persona dancing games. They've done a few different other there's a few other weird. It's kind of like how Dragon Quest does their offshoot brand things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple like that, and then also the Persona crew is the same people who do Shin Megami Tensei.
Yep.
So they kind of bounce back and forth between those, which is why you'll get every other year for Persona.
Yeah, we just got Devil Survivor just came out 6 months ago about.
Yep.
So
here we go. So the 2015 Persona Super Live concert featured the first trailer for Persona 5. That was the one I showed you with the chairs on stage getting the spotlights shot out, and then the trailer rolled. 2 years later, in 2017, the Persona Super Live concert featured the reveals for Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, Persona Q, the new Cinema Labyrinth game, and then in 2019, they revealed Royals, as well as Persona 5 Strikers. So this year, since I mean they've made 3 different Persona 5 games at this point now, considering a Royal version and then Strikers being a separate game entirely.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much else left to do with 5 other than make 6. I don't think. Oh yeah, and Dancing in Starlight. I think 5 has been pushed to the point where there's nothing else they can really do with it now.
Sure.
So the fact that we have Persona 6 confirmed and the concert is right around the corner in October, I think it's going to be Persona 6. And I think you're going to see probably, I don't know if they would do a holiday date that close or if they want to do like the year after the concert, because it's tough, right? You want that hype to like build and not go away.
Mm-hmm.
But if the concert's in October, it's kind of close to holiday season, so
I can't see them dropping it that holiday, but I could see it being maybe like even a spring, summer release.
first quarter next year, yeah, maybe.
That's feasible.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, we could even see it for the following holiday. You never know. It depends
That's
on what they
true.
have ready, to be honest. So, yeah, I think that's cool. I'm really interested to see that. I can't wait to buy another Persona game that will sit on my shelf because I just don't have
Oh my god.
time to play it.
I literally have 5 Royal Edition for PS4 over there, and I downloaded Strikers because I was like, oh yeah, definitely, and then that'll be there too.
Yeah, that was free on PSN, right? A couple months ago. Yeah. Of course, we made that announcement.
It's like games with gold, except there's games I want to play, and it cost me extra money.
Right. So yeah, we'll certainly give that more coverage once we know more. But yeah, I would say expect to see some Persona 6 news this year, and get fucking stoked. So
Dude, you know what my favorite thing about Persona is? I don't know if you've done a lot of listening, but like Persona 5 has some of the best music in video games, dude.
that's what I hear.
That band that does, I wish I don't know the name of the band. I'll have to look it up, but they are. Lynn is her name. She's the singer.
Mm-hmm.
And Lynn featuring the Persona Music Band. They are absolute killers. Like I totally get why they have a concert series because their music, in particular, just 5 in general, has a ton of good tracks that you can just listen to. It's wild.
Nice. Good shit. I'm excited for it. We'll check it out. Maybe I'll be able to squeeze in Persona 5 before 6 drops. I'd love to. I bought it on PS5 or whatever. I bought it on the PS4, digital copy of it, and I've yet to play it. So,
right.
Yeah, we'll try and squeeze in. I think. I hear it's good. I hear nothing but good about it. So.
Yeah, you've heard one of the songs because I use Persona 5's song "Last Surprise" in my one of the ways I get murdered for the Smash Bros. Character.
Nice. Yeah, I would know it if I heard it. Well, let's move on here. What else do we have here? This is some pretty interesting news too, and I'm always about this kind of retro news. So a copy of Star Wars Battlefront 3 kind of surfaced on Reddit the other day, and it was pretty big news. I think there was like 40 some odd thousand comments in that section. And it was like top news for the whole ass day. So, lady basically just comes out and she's like, "Oh, my husband used to be an alpha tester for blah blah blah. He had a copy of this alpha test, didn't think anything of it, brought it home and kept it. After all the stuff was all sent back, because I guess this company and whatever company was, building Battlefront 3 at the time, kind of parted ways, and they just sent all the assets and all that stuff back, and he just happened to just keep the copy, not thinking anything of it. And we got some nice shots here. Let me see if I can switch here. So you can see some screens here and the actual test disc too. And I guess it was revealed on the subreddit, that this was basically the game that would eventually turn into Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron. He's basically saying because this game was shelved, and then the company developing Elite Squadron just basically pulled it off the shelf and pulled all the assets from it. So all the cutscenes and menus and stuff are pretty much all the same. So I would assume that this is basically just an alpha copy of what turned into Elite Squadron, but they talking about he could get the game online and everything. So if they get this ROM dumped, so that people can play it on their PSPs, you could literally see people playing this game online.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. I mean, they tested it, said to get online, and everyone could never find other players because that's what she was like. Is this a rare game? Because like he gets on and then he never sees anyone playing it and all that shit. And everyone was just like, holy shit, do you know what you have? And so
Right.
they were talking in the comments about dumping the ROM and all that stuff, and they're like, I don't know how, but they're like, people send them tutorials on how to rip the ROM and get it uploaded and all that stuff. So we'll certainly, if we ever find a link to it, I'll certainly put it in our Discord. So for anyone that wants to play something that deserves to be preserved, that will get it in there. I'm sure Downer in the Discord, he's a big retro head like myself, and he was a big fan of the PSP as well, so I'm sure he'll be grabbing that ROM too sweet. So
Oh, definitely.
yep. Then we had a lot, probably the biggest story of the week, honestly. We saw a lot happen with Square this week, including selling off major assets in Western studios to Embracer Group, the black hole of gaming IPs right now, including Tomb Raider and Deus Ex. CEO Yatsuki Masada, he took to Twitter explaining that they are shaving off IPs to focus on blockchain tech, which led to a huge backlash with fans. A lot of people have speculated that they're basically consolidating assets to look more attractive to a buyout. Now rumors are surfacing from multiple sources saying that Sony is positioning to buy Square. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors earlier in the year talking about Sony after buying Bungie was like, well, this isn't our we have a big purchase, this isn't it.
Yeah.
So with the FCC going through right now to scrutinize the Bungie buyout and kind of go over that with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that's all in order, I wouldn't be surprised to see an announcement shortly after about them buying out Square. So still not as big as the Activision buyout. So, but it's scary to see that these companies are consolidating studios this fast. And I can tell you, it's not as much people pine and champion for it. It's just not good for the gaming industry. So,
Right.
but I can't think, honestly, at the end of the day, I can't think of a better fit than Square Enix and PlayStation. I mean, Square has been kind of just like BFFs with Sony since the inception of the PlayStation.
Absolutely.
The success of PlayStation was pivotal on how well Square's games performed. And
Absolutely.
to this day, the number one console has always been where Final Fantasy was. Now with the Switch, that's probably, I don't know if that's gonna. I mean, technically there are Final Fantasies on it, but it's always been like the pivotal thing. Like wherever the Final Fantasy is, that's who wins the console quote unquote war. I hate fucking even talking about console wars, but
No, I hear you.
that's
I just even outside of like the whole like consoles competing with consoles thing, like Square Enix is just even outside of their Western division, Square Enix is killing it. We talked last year during the E3 season about how like they had so many different games coming out that they were able to do like an FF14 only showcase,
mm-hmm.
plus a Dragon Quest only showcase, plus the showcase they had at the Big E where they had like, and even then a bunch of their stuff showed up on other people's things. Like they had Monster Hunter Stories show up over here, they had this show up over there, this show up over there. Like they literally had to split their stuff 8 ways from Sunday to get it all fit in for like the year or whatever. Otherwise, they would have been there for like an entire day talking about stuff. And
Right.
I mean, even to this day, we've got like 7 remakes in the wings. We've got Final Fantasy 16 we should be hearing about any day now. We've got FF14 absolutely destroying it still. The remakes of 1 through 6 on Pixel remasters were good.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly 9's getting a remaster or a remake, and given how everything else has gone along, it seems like that's an inevitable announcement as well.
I am turnt on that Final Fantasy remake, boy.
We got Kingdom Hearts 4 announced and shown, and it looks really good. I mean, we've got things like Triangle Strategy. We've got things like the Final Fantasy Dark Souls game there, whatever that was, Stranger Paradise, which was everyone said was all right. Like it wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't a flop like they thought it was going to be.
Sure.
Square Enix is just chugging right now. Like even ditching all their Western studios and just sticking solely on the Eastern ones. They're cruising right now. They have so much stuff to be doing and working on, and it's either all really good or has potential to be really good if it's things that we haven't really heard or seen yet. Like Forspoken, we know nothing about Forspoken. That's going to be out this year. I mean, we have what we've seen, but like
Sure.
no hands on or anything. And then yeah, Forspoken's another one. Dragon Quest 12 got announced. Like, oh my god, dude, you could just run numbers with these people right now.
Right. I'm
So
just the whole take with Mitsuda on blockchain shit and his attraction to it just seems weird, and I really hope
absolutely.
that them getting bought out puts a stop to that shit, because it's
You know what I think should happen?
I think
I
he
think
should be
they
fucking voted out. But
I think Sony should buy Square Enix because unlike the acquisition Microsoft did, where they bought like a bunch of old studios that were like on their way out the door, and we're like, no, we can fix them, I swear.
mhm.
Like, um, this is obviously a great buy, right? Because all these all these different titles they have coming, all these new IPs, all these sequels and franchise add-ons that they have coming, it's an easy investment to make, right? Like,
Sure.
if there's any studio on the planet right now that you're like, who's got the most games down the pipeline that are going to succeed, you're going to look at like the Kingdom Hearts, FF16, FF14, like all these titles they've got, Dragon Quest 12, things that are universally praised, prior Dragon Quests,
Mhm.
14, and 16, of course, because it's the team from 14. You can't really put it in the same box as like 15 or 13. Like it's probably going to work pretty well. Um, I would like to see Sony get their hands on Square Enix, buy them, and then immediately throw out the president and put Yoshi P in his place, and be like, "Do to this whole company
Boy,
what you did with Realm Reborn."
fuck yeah. Fuck yeah,
Go
dude.
from there.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Um,
They don't seem like they're in a bad spot, but like as we see, like games
mhm,
become more and more expensive
yeah,
to produce, to the point where studios that are pretty well known and pretty successful are just selling out. We
right,
saw it with
right,
Activision. Well, Activision's a whole different animal, but we see it with like
sure,
Platinum Games. They're very open to being bought. Like I saw
yeah.
that CEO on Twitter like, "Hey, baby, I'll sell to whatever," and like it was just really
Yeah.
weird. Um,
Yeah, it feels like the company is like running a marathon and they're killing it right now, and like the president of the company is like purposely dropping banana peels at their feet and seeing if they can get them to
yeah,
slip.
and
It's like,
I
come
almost
on, man.
wonder with like Platinum Games diving into wanting to do games as a service thing and pissing people off, Square selling off the Western stuff and then saying, and they're keeping Outriders and a couple other games too, which is weird, but
Mhm.
um, they're them talking about investing in the blockchain, and I almost wondering if they're like deliberately trying to like devalue the company just a little bit just so that they can hardball
Dude,
a sale. And
I was gonna say, I wonder if because if you look at their 1 month, 6 month, like on their stock prices, their 6 month they went from like about $60 USD to like 40.
mhm.
Even 1 month goes from like 43 down to like 40. I was like, I wonder, like, do you think the dude just said like the dumbest take you can take on the internet, so like their stock would go
Yeah,
down
they can
right
bargain
before they
shop.
sell? Yeah,
Just they don't care about making $1 trillion, but if they
like
could
how
just
can this
get out,
company?
I mean,
Yeah,
Masuda
like
would
how
retire after this. He doesn't have to do any other work.
I just like how can this company be making so many good games and decisions, but then also be making such bad business decisions at the top level? It's
Yep.
like what?
Yeah. Out of nowhere too.
Yeah,
A game company like Square making bad decisions just in like the last year or so.
and
It's a real weird take.
it's kind of frightening how often we see people who like just don't know any better make takes like that. Like we had Reggie Fils-Aimé the other day was just like, oh yeah, I'd love to see Animal Crossing have like NFTs in it, and it was like,
Yeah.
since when? Like since when are you that guy? And he was like, oh, or like I got really sad like a few months ago. Remember because Mike Shinoda was just suddenly was like, yeah, we're gonna do music NFTs, and people were like, NFTs are bad, and he's like, well, I had no idea, but you know what, I'm gonna do it. And it
Did
was
he
like, come
do it
on, man,
anyway?
like
I remember him
yeah,
saying
he did
like
it
they
anyway.
were going to do a documentary or some kind of like weird
He had a
investigative thing, and then he just doubled
he,
down anyway. That's fucking
he had
whack.
a talk with he had a talk with a game developer from a big studio and was like, yeah, so NFTs, and the guy was like, NFTs bad, not doable, unfeasible, and here's the million reasons why. And he
Oh
was like,
God.
oh yeah, I've heard that before. And he was like, yeah, you heard that from me. I was the one who did that big write up that said they were bad. And Mike was like, well, that's a real downer, man. But I mean, I guess maybe NFTs don't belong to video games anyway. Here's my music NFT collection that I made, so it's for sale. And the dude was like, oh, okay.
Oh
Like,
God.
um,
So what do you
yeah,
own
so
like a second of the music? Like how does this even work now?
no, so he made a series of NFTs where it's all the same song, but the different versions of the song for being different NFTs have like different instruments. So instead of synth piano 1, it's synth piano 2. And so
Dude.
your version of the song sounds different than everyone else's version of the song, but it's the same song. it's literally the music version of NFTs, where he went into like a thing and changed the instrument to the next instrument on the list 100 times, and was like, they're all different, and like, yeah, they're all technically different because they all have like the different sounding instruments in place of each other, but yeah. So that's an NFT now. That's a
In
thing.
my day, we called that a remix.
Apparently, if you make 100 of them and you sell them to people who think they're worth something,
Christ.
yeah, it's so shitty. So I was like, well, Linkin Park died when Chester died. I guess it's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan
And
of
it
them to
sucks because
begin with.
I loved them when I was younger,
That's
and
fair.
I really liked Mike Shinoda in general, and he went and did the Fort Minor group, and they were cool too. But I mean, it's one of those like never get to know your heroes because you never know how they are when you actually get to know them and shit. So
Good
that sucks, I
stuff.
guess. Here,
What is this link you just
unrelated.
sent me here?
Yeah. So, I mean, you like to talk about Star Citizen, so I figured this would be up your alley.
Oh, man.
Let me read you a fun quote here from the article.
Because
Quote.
Star Citizen is doing bedsheet deformation physics now because of course it is. I love that headline.
Listen to this. It's a straight shot right out of the article. Ready? Quote. We knew early on that in order to hit the fidelity that we expect for SQ-42, we would need to do some R&D into bedsheet deformation. End quote. The AI content team explained, apparently straight-faced. Quote. This work is currently underway, and if successful, will allow the AI to deform their sheets when entering, exiting, or sleeping inside of them. This is a challenging assignment, and it expands the complexity of the feature. For example, what happens to the sheets if the AI needs to exit the bed in an emergency? This was a thing they fucking sat down and took seriously. They were like, oh, we literally have to have staff meetings and sit down and dedicate resources to researching bedsheet deformation.
Here
Oh,
and here I
man.
thought like I just, at face value because I haven't really been into animation in quite a while.
Yeah.
I thought this was a industry term, bedsheet deformation. Like, okay, what's bedsheet deformation mean?
Yeah.
It means bedsheet deformation.
It's literally bedsheet deformation. Oh, my God.
Oh my god, dude, are you serious?
People were like, you wonder why Star Citizen's never coming out. They're fucking working on making the bed sheets deform when people get in and out of them. And they're even working into account things like if people have to leave their bed in an emergency. Oh my god. R&D on bedsheet deformation for a game that is 10 years overdue. That's the fidelity that players were waiting for.
Finally, bedsheet technology. I will say, like playing games, and it has always been weird for me that when people are in bed or laying on a bed, they're just laying on a made bed because they just don't want to deal with, I guess, the bedsheet deformation physics.
Yeah, most game developers are just cowards when it
But
comes to bedsheet
thank
deformation. I'm
God we
glad.
have Star Citizen on the job to
Yeah.
make this genre changing technology. Fuck me.
Do sheets with different thread counts deform in a consistent way? Or do the
Oh
bedsheet
my.
models need to account for Egyptian cotton separately?
Yeah, you'll have to upgrade your RTX if you want to do that Egyptian cotton physics. Um, yeah, if you only have the 1070 Titan, you're stuck with like just basic linens, man.
Dude, we talk video game design from time to time when it comes up on the channel, and oh
Sure.
boy, can I explain to you what, like, I've definitely had this conversation with you at some point or another, but like, if you've ever in your life heard the term like scope creep, this is fucking it. The like sitting down and being like, we need to add bedsheet deformation to this game is like the most mind blowing. Like, how did that pass a meeting? How
Yeah.
did the whole staff sit down and be like, bedsheet deformation? And they went around the table and everyone's like, yeah, put it in. Yeah, let's put time onto this. Like, holy shit.
Right.
Your project manager has to be like a 1980s fax machine for this to fucking get approved.
Like for people who don't get it or don't understand it because, it is what it is. This is the
Yep.
equivalent. Think of like Family Guy. Think of like they're releasing a new season, but they're going to delay that season for 10 years because instead of drawing three fingers on a hand, because that's industry standard and has been an industry standard for hand-drawn animation
Sure.
since the dawn of time, they want to
Oh,
add a
yeah.
fourth finger.
Yep.
And they got to go back and redraw that fourth finger into every cell, hand by hand. And that's the equivalent.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Jesus.
I can't believe this was even an article I stumbled on. I was like, I thought it was like harddrive.net
Yeah.
picking on them for being meticulous, but no, they were just actually doing it to themselves.
Chat even saying, wow, yeah, that really adds to the gameplay. Like, come on.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Why couldn't getting out of bed just be a pre-rendered situation?
Well, like, you know what's funny? It's funny you mentioned that because when one of the reasons why I won't play like the new Elden Ring is because sometimes there's sheets in the ground or like scraps of clothing and they don't deform properly. And I think that's just a disgusting cop out on Miyazaki's part to not make that happen. So like,
After this fucking
imagine.
long, they're still dicking with this sort of bullshit. Fuck, I want my money back.
It's
True
absolutely insane.
chat, true that. I can't believe that this game. Like, come on, we know this game's never coming out.
Oh, and the best part was that in the patch notes where they talked whatever, not even patch notes because the game's not out, but like in their newest news article where they talked about this, it was the headliner. The first thing they talked about, they were like, "We're gonna lead off with the bed sheets thing."
We're gonna
Like,
wow the crowd and get them hooked with this one, baby.
yeah, you gotta snap your audience in the first line, right? Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't mean to derail
No,
our NFT conversation or our blockchain conversation, but like
I have no
this
problem
also
with
feels
that.
like crazy. Like this feels on par with like weird grifty shit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I have no problem with it
guys,
because we burned through, I think, about what I thought was going to be at least 2 hours of content, and we're not even an hour into this show. So, yeah, let's
dude,
talk about it. I don't give a shit.
could you imagine though, like if you were like talking to like a person doing a thing for you, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to be like, you know, I know you've been giving me money to make this product, and I'd love to have this product out already, but unfortunately, it's going to take a little longer than we thought because we have to do the bedsheet deformation." Be like, "Motherfucker, what are you talking about? Just finish my product. Like, what do you mean?"
I got to see it. Is there some responses from like fans?
Yeah, the article
Oh,
I
there is
sent
some
you
here.
has people talking at the
What the
bottom.
actual fuck, LMAO? This game was supposed to be out years ago, and they're implementing fucking bedsheet formation deformation. I'm done. That was from Tor VI 97. R&D on bedsheet deformation for a game that is 10 years overdue. That's the fidelity that game players are waiting for. I'm not sure about the rest of you, but this feature, I can safely say, we could wait for a patch in 2083. Is this a joke? No wonder they can't finish this thing. Pointless feature creep at its most extreme. And here's the thing with like feature creep, they don't have the game anywhere close to done. Like
Mhm.
they still have just like what, one star system, maybe a handful of star systems, and this is supposed to be like Eve scale, Eve
Dude,
Online. Like, come
oh my
on.
god. Here, look at this. You want to see some funny shit? I'll send you a link to the tweet by PC Gamer, like linking to basically the exact article
All
from
right,
PC Gamer, right? But on their Twitter.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like I'm scrolling down and there's people where it's like the one guy's like, "This game is a vanity project," and someone replies back to him, "This game is genuinely good, buggy of course, but legitimately good. The gameplay loop isn't fleshed out past cargo and mining, but the cargo and mining is extremely good. Once bounty hunting, salvage, piracy, and all the other parts are working, it'll be amazing." It's like, bro, you're telling me like I bought a car today. They only gave me the tires, but let me tell you, the tires are amazing. Once the engine and the HVAC system and the body of the car are there, oh man, it's gonna be a sweet car. Like, what are you talking about?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's only 2/10 of the game right now, but oh boy, is that 2/10 of the game fun. Wait till the rest is out. And it's like 10 years in the making. Oh my god, just picked up the official Star Citizen flight stick, so hyped to try it out in 10 to 15 years, and it's just a fucking credit card machine.
That's amazing.
I can't wait for my grandchildren to know the release date.
I love this one.
Holy shit.
I admire the optimism.
Yeah, by the Optimus. Oh my god.
There's a lot of work in Star Citizen done on a systemic level. Interesting, systemic. Usually, tech isn't created just for one single instance of use, but is developed and R&D to be useful in other areas as well. This sounds like they're going to be using this to develop proper interactive cloth sim tech.
Oh
No,
my
they're
god.
not. It literally states
No,
bedsheet deformation.
yeah. I love, yeah, people like that who are like, oh, you know, this is just a small step in the right direction of making all kinds of other stuff really crazy. And it's like, but this isn't the place or the time for that. When your project is 10 years into development, even if you're making the world's best physics engine for like cloth or something, that's
Right.
great. But you know what you do that do? You do that in the Unreal Engine and you make it part of the Unreal Engine's thing so that other people can use it. You don't fucking do it in your 10-year behind game that people are still giving you money and waiting for it to launch.
Yeah. Um,
It's absolutely insane.
I love this response. You're probably one of the few people here who know how important this is. Most people don't
How
realize the
important
tech is
this
never
is.
used for one feature only. Okay, so what are you going to use it for? A fucking curtain?
Hmm. Oh, dude, it's it's endless. Curtains,
Why are we
shower
talking about
curtains,
bed sheets in a space
like
exploration game?
yeah, yeah. Oh my god, it's absolutely
This shit has
insane.
over $300 million in funding, and it's like 10 years of development from what I hear, and it still isn't shit to do. I just bought a week ago and I'm absolutely having a blast. Okay,
I'm sorry.
10 years later, still in alpha. This sounds like a scam. Is this even worth
Yeah.
getting? Yeah, servers are just like pirate servers with friends. No, even if you actually manage to get a mission you think is fun, it's all going to run shitty and crash. The game is also empty. Its biggest thing is basically a crypto market for ships. Well, of fucking course. It's not. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's not worth the money. You'd regret it. Just wait a free week and then they do those often, the free weeks. I can't wait for my grandchildren to finally know the release date. Nah, they'll have to wait for their grandchildren. No class action lawsuit yet. Game must be legit then. I don't think that's a good way to gauge.
No, I don't think that's how that works either.
Because you have a bunch of just because like all the dupes that have bought into this that aren't forming a fucking class action lawsuit because they don't realize they've been scammed yet isn't forming a class action lawsuit doesn't mean this is legit by any stretch of the imagination.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, it's
copium
absolutely
inhaled
wild.
en masse on this subreddit is incredible. I believe it. Oh my god, I can only imagine. That subreddit
Yeah,
must be insane, and I gotta go read it after the show. The
yeah,
rift
yeah.
continues. Most of these actors will be dead by the time the game releases. Oh man, exactly what is wrong with the game? It had so much more potential if they actually had laser focus and not like minor details, the changes, blah blah blah. Taking a long ass time. Tram ride every time you die. Oh, you have to take a tram ride if you die in the game. That sounds thrilling.
Dude, it's super fun. Trust me. It gets better with time. Every time you get on that tram after you're dead, it's even better.
They just want a game at this point and don't want to accept all your base belong to me meme. Dude is notorious for coming up with new ideas and not finishing projects. Who does that sound like?
Oh boy.
What's his name?
I have to give it to this one dude, like Tier Nast Knacker dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is all over this Twitter thread, just deep throating everything he can get
Oh
his
my
hands on.
god, yeah, the
There's that
performance
one
has been
guy.
damn
It's
good
like this
since the
one
last
dude.
patch. They
It's like
improved a
this
lot.
one dude. Oh
Do
boy.
we want to deep dive on him and see if he's a fucking employee of the company?
He's definitely way more invested than anyone should be, and he is all about being all over that game thread, being like, "Oh, actually, it's incredible what they're doing." He's like the only person. He's like, "Oh, actually, it's super good what they're doing." Oh man.
I can't fucking read German, so we're gonna go over to Google Translate. A new vegan community with a focus on joint social actions, pop culture, game, human, and animal rights. Yikes. Okay, not it. Oh man. Yeah, that's weird that he's coming out of the woodwork that hard, dude.
Yeah, somebody put out of the 400 million they have in the company, somebody put like an entire $1 million into it. It feels really bad right now.
I gave it a shot on the last free fly week, and the first thing that happened was I fell into the world geometry because an elevator didn't spawn in. Someone replied, "Average Star Citizen session." Oh my god.
There's people saying like, oh, like the game has like a dozen NPCs and a few dozen players running around, and it can't even handle running with these people. How is this going to be a full fledged MMO? And the dude is like, obviously they're just going to do a different server configuration for the full launch. It's like, what do you mean? Why wouldn't they do it now then? If they can do it now to
Right.
support 1,000 players, why would they purposely do it wrong so that it doesn't support 20 people? Oh my god, people are just insane. I don't get it.
Feature creep the video game? Nice. I mean, I get like wanting to make it as realistic as possible.
Sure. But so
But
here's the
it
thing.
seems like they're
If you're
fundamentally developing off of what was feature rich from like a 2012 perspective.
Well, that's the problem. Is so when you make a project, you're supposed to sit down and you have the scope of your project, which is like the front to back, What are we doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that should be in the scope before the project starts. Like before you start working on a project, everything you want to make for that project should be done. If you come up with new things along the way, you do this thing where like you talk to the project manager and you ask for like an increase of resources or time to increase the scope to include that new thing, or they decline it if they don't think it's worth it. Me personally, maybe it's just me, but if you had a project running for 10 years still, with a $400 million income so far, and someone sat down and said, hey, can we take like 6 to 8 months to like implement this like new cloth technology for the bed sheets? Anybody should look at that and be like, fucking no. That can happen after launch. That can be a patch. That can be something we work in later. No one is going to not buy this game because the sheets don't deform. Like, is this actually improving this project or not? The answer is no for like
Right.
99.9% of people. Unless your name is Tier Nastnacker, you don't care about the sheets deforming.
Oh man.
Insane. And even then, you can just add that later. If you really think it's some cool thing that you have to work on it later. Get the game out.
Right.
Let people play the game. And then when people are like, wow, this game's awesome, then you do the Final Fantasy 14 approach and you keep making improvements to that game so people are like, wow, it gets better and better. Like, no, you don't wait 10 years to put the game out and then just be like, yeah, well, we're deforming sheets now.
Yep. That's wild.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal, dude.
I'm glad that you brought that to my attention because holy shit, that's intense, man. That's sheesh.
I didn't really know much about that game until you started talking about it, and then I was like, holy shit, this game really is never going to come out. Like,
I remember back in my youngin' years before my daughter was born, and I think she was born. She'll be 10 this year, so this game was announced before her.
oh my god.
And I remember looking like, oh, cool! You can like fly around, land on planets, take off, and like the whole game. There's no no loading screens. Like the whole game is just like that's it. Like it's like the real world, and it's like you're in space and you do shit wherever, whatever way you do, and that's great in theory, but it's 2022.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And the game is still not in close to a playable state.
I mean, people were talking in the comments. They were like, Red Dead Redemption had about the same budget as this, and they finished their game like 3 years ago, and it didn't take 10 years to make.
Yeah,
And they worked on the size of the horse balls, so you can't tell me they didn't have detail in mind.
they did. Was it like a variety of horseball sizes that you get in the game?
I have no idea. All I know is that Red Dead's. I didn't buy Red Dead 2 because the sheets didn't deform.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was too. Like, nope, no sheets, no
Yeah,
buy.
it's ridiculous.
All right. Well, let's move on. Speaking of sheet deformation, we saw something interesting on Twitter this week. If you didn't notice my background here today,
Oh yeah.
we saw this guy pop up, and this is if you don't know, it's Tifa from Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
She is what I would believe is polishing the Buster Sword.
Oh my god.
So this popped up on Twitter through a user named P Diddy _ P Diddy or D Pity. I'm sorry, I love it. Standard version, what you see here, $544.99. You get an interchangeable nude body for $644.99.
Seriously?
Advanced
Oh my
version with
God.
battle suit nude body for another $640.49. Advanced with both extra bodies, $728.99. Once in a while, I see like Wario64 post these weird ass statues, but holy shit, man, people pay this much money for that? Bro, people be thirsty for this shit, and I don't understand it. And by the way, this is probably like the only shot I could show of this because there's other angles and stuff that don't leave much to the imagination.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a shot now, and I'm like, I'm glad that I turned off my browser on the stream because holy shit. So, yeah, top post. Oh, I can't even read it. I can't read it on this. I don't feel like if this was like a Jackbox night, I would read some of these, but I can't.
Right.
Oh man. Oh.
That's unhinged, dude.
So yeah, that's my cool thing of the week, I guess. That's I don't understand. Why does this exist? And why isn't it in Star Citizen?
What? Yeah. Well, because obviously because their skirt doesn't deform,
Right. Yeah,
and that would be a whole
this
thing.
is straight wild and right here. Game community needs to stop being so goddamn thirsty, I think. So,
Yeah, it's stuff like this always like it's always so funny when you're like, why do people think like gamers are weird about stuff? Like, why is it socially weird to like
right.
get certain
Because we
like
get
groups of
lumped
people
in
in
with
your
this
friend
shit.
circles? And it's like, oh, I don't know, because yeah.
Anyone? Oh, I don't even talk about it. But that's where we are for that. So let's move on. Let's talk about some game releases coming out this week. For those listening to the audio version, be glad. All right, so upcoming game releases, we have the Eudian Chronicle Rising is coming to the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC. That will be on Game Pass. It looks like a pretty decent art JRPG. Go check it out. We have Salt and Sacrifice that is coming to PS5, PS4, PC May 10th. And we have The War of Mine, Final Cut, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, coming out May 10th. Unpacking, the game that's already been out on multiple platforms, is coming to PS5 and PS4 May 10th. The intriguing game where you unpack things, literally. And then we have The Evil Dead, the game, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's coming out on everything. May 13th. So that's what we're getting this week. So I don't know. That's not exactly what I would say out of the park list there. So
Now it feels like I think like for the next few months we have a lot of like catch up in games time or
thank
go back
God.
and do other stuff.
It just felt like the beginning of the year there for a hot minute. Like I couldn't keep up.
Well,
So
yeah, it was busy and plus, but then like some stuff got delayed out too because like we would have had right now things like Advance Wars,
uh-huh.
or I think for Spoken was like May
Yeah,
originally. So we would have had more stuff this month as well, except for some delays happened because obviously the pandemic is still affecting people. Um, and part of it too might be like some people think that maybe some titles get shifted around here and there. Like I want to say, wasn't it? Didn't they say like a big part of the reason that Forspoken probably got moved was so it wasn't eating into like Final Fantasy and Triangle Strategy and stuff?
it's possible.
Because
We
like,
are seeing stuff getting strategically moved around.
yeah,
And I even said with Nintendo stuff, it almost looked like they were competing with themselves at a point, and they did move Splatoon and um,
Xenoblade, right?
Xenoblade.
Xenoblade moved back, and then
Yeah,
Splatoon moved up or something.
right. So it seemed like they traded places. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of that now, and I think
Yeah,
just
that one was kind of bizarre, right? Because like moving a game back is normal. The game needs more time to be done.
mhm.
But the fact that they were able to move Splatoon up was weird. It was almost like Splatoon was ahead of schedule.
Right.
And normally you would just let it come out when it comes out, but they were like, we don't want that to come out alongside Xenoblade and have two games at the same time to buy, so they moved up Splatoon.
Sure. And
Really,
it's not
really
the
rare
first time that
occurrence.
Nintendo has been accused of shelving games and just sitting on them for strategic release
Yeah.
dates. So
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's even rumor that the Wind Waker and oh shit, the compilation Wind Waker and what's the other one? Twilight Princess is just sitting waiting to be released, and it's done. Um, again, a rumor. I can't qualify that, but yeah, it wouldn't be the first time Nintendo's been accused of letting games just sit on a shelf.
Well, I think like if I remember right, I think that kind of happened with Bravely Default, the original. People were saying that because the original Bravely Default had a demo out on the Nintendo eShop on November 14th of 2013 before Christmas, and then we played the demo and everyone's like, "Cool, the demo, great." And then everyone beat the demo and whatever. And then in January, instead of the game coming out by holiday, the game didn't come out. And then in January, they made another demo. It was another part of the game you could play, like the second day of January or something. And that was like a totally separate demo. But again, it was like you had two demos for this game and they were completely unrelated. Like, this game's not done. Both of these parts were fully fleshed out and completed, but they were separate demos for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game just kind of came out after that. And a lot of people were saying like it seemed like everything was there in the second demo or in the first demo, and then the second demo they were like, it seems like this didn't need to happen. They just didn't want to release the game in the holiday season alongside everything else.
Sure.
So they cut out another part of the game, released it as demo 2, and then waited till like February or like I think it was like mid-February when the fiscal year rolls over, and then they were like, oh yeah, Bravely Default, and it like launched right in that season in that window to hit that thing there, yeah.
I do remember that. That's interesting.
And you see it here actually. Bravely Default 2 did something similar. They had multiple demos, and then the game came out February 26th instead of the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Even though again, Bravely Default 2 seemed like it was completely ready based on the demos that we played like that summer before then.
Oh sure.
Because I did on my charity stream, I did the first demo of Default 2 in the summer, and then they did another demo like in the fall, and then I think there was like nothing through holiday season, and people were like, "Why isn't it out?" But of course, there was other stuff for holiday season, and then all of a sudden, yeah, right at February 26th, it's a little over the border for like the next fiscal year. All of a sudden, Bravely Default 2 just drops.
Right. That's pretty wild.
That might be a Square Enix thing in particular or something. I'm not sure. But it definitely was really bizarre how that happened with that same franchise twice. You
That's
know,
wild.
actually, now I kind of want to look up the Bravely Second release date and see if it also did the same thing. Bravely Second release date, April 23rd. So I mean, yeah, actually, it also did the same thing. That's super funny.
So I almost wonder if that's like a planned strategic thing that they just do now.
Something Square Enix does, yeah. They just put that out in the spring because it does well. To start off their fiscal year good. That's funny.
That's wild. All right, next up, let's talk about some this week in gaming history. Get ready to feel old, ladies and gentlemen. We have Axiom Verge, not Axiom Verge 2, the game that doesn't exist. Axiom Verge,
yeah.
7 years ago, came out on
one.
multiple platforms. Minecraft Xbox 360 edition came out 10 years ago. Custom Robo GameCube 18 years ago. We have GTA Vice City that came out 19 years ago on PC. God, that makes me feel old. I remember when that game came out, dude. I remember in college, like oh man, that game's gonna be fucking lit because they had like Flock of Seagulls in the trailer or on the commercial, and I was like, hell yeah, this is like my jam, dude. God. We have Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. That came out in the Game Boy Color 21 years ago. And I actually bought both of them on eBay because I wanted to try them out on my invisible Game Boy Color. And I actually still haven't gotten a chance to do that. So one of these days, Super Mario RPG 26 years ago on the SNES. The Sega Saturn debuted 27 years ago with titles Panzer Dragoon and Virtua Fighter also coming out that year. And then we have Studio Inti Creates, founded 26 years ago, and Arc System Works. They were founded 34 years ago. So if that didn't make you feel old, I don't know what will.
It's wild.
Yep. That's all we have on that.
Mario RPG in particular, that old is like woof.
Right. Yeah, that all makes me feel very old, man. I never finished Mario RPG, but I really enjoyed it. But they did add a lot of those mechanics into like Paper Mario and Superstar Saga. Superstar Saga sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I got to play those a little bit, but yeah, I really want to go back and play the RPG, the original Super Mario RPG, developed by none other than SquareSoft. So.
Oh yeah, dude, it was so good. They did so many good things with that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to talk about genre defining? That one did it.
That was one of my first RPGs, honestly, because like and it was funny because I don't know if that was the case with me because I don't remember. I was obviously a kid, but like, I feel like for a lot of people that very well could be what got like normie gamers who only played like Mario's and Zeldas into like the RPG genre because it was like Mario, but it was an RPG, and it made the RPG elements easy to understand. And then you could walk over to like Breath of Fire 2 on the SNES and be like, oh, this is like Mario RPG, but it's not Mario, and I can play this too. And then all of a sudden you're playing, RPGs.
Right.
Yeah, wild, dude.
Yeah, Square tried that with Mystic Quest. They wanted to do like an intro level RPG, and it failed miserably because people rushed out buying it thinking that it was like, oh, a Final Fantasy, and like it said right on the goddamn box too, like intro. Basically, it said intro level RPG.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like baby's first RPG. That's literally what it was supposed to be. Like you said, it flopped because people were expecting it to be a bigger game, and I almost wonder if they like went back to the drawing board and were like, let's try this again. Do it with like familiar characters and they did that
Mhm.
with Nintendo. I almost wonder if that was kind of like a reaction to it,
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
because like
Well,
you
even
said, I mean,
like
it was your first RPG, so it's like,
yeah, I think I played that before. I played. I think that's probably the RPG that made me realize I liked RPGs. Was
nice.
like something like that. I think I did play Mystic Quest, but I didn't have expectations for Final Fantasy yet, so it wasn't like I went in being like, oh, it's too easy or whatever. Um, that was definitely one of them. Breath of Fire 2 was an early one. Yep. I don't remember anything else. I mean, I feel like I had something on the Game Boy, but I think it was the Game Boy Advance, which probably would have been later.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, it definitely was one of the earlier games that I played, and it definitely was one of those like, because I mean, how many people looked at the game and they were like, "Well, it's a Mario game, so it's going to be good, right?" Like, even to
Right.
this day, that happens. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
100%.
almost anything that's considered a mainline, like when we get if we get our next Mario 3D game, like Odyssey was,
Hmm.
like when Odyssey was first shown to us, even if it was just like Mario Odyssey, and they had like the bit of like him in the city talking to people and stuff, and we had no idea what gameplay looked like, you knew it was going to be a good Mario game because it was considered one of like the mainline Mario games. It wasn't like some Mario sports game or something. And they don't let the main franchise get garbage. They do a pretty good job about making sure that their main IP franchise, like main Zelda's, main Mario's, things like that, don't tank or whatever.
Sure. I remember, I don't know if you listened to it at the time when H3 first started doing their podcast, and they had a video game donkey on for the first time. And they're like, "What's your favorite game?" And he's like, "Mario." And they're like, "What do you think of like Mario Odyssey coming out?" He's like, "It's going to be the best Mario of all time." And they're like, "Why would you say that? Like, why? How would you know that?" Like, because it's going to be the newest Mario, and therefore it's going to be the best Mario of all time. Like, he obviously he's biased, but I mean, it's there stands to be some reasoning there too.
Yeah, there's truth to it because like the Mario games are always quality,
Hmm.
and since they're always quality and the technology is always improving and the design techniques are always improving, it does stand to reason that those games get better and better. I mean,
Sure.
I've played. I mean, I would say there's a limit cutoff between the 2D and 3D generations, and that's we've talked on the show before about how like 3D is a whole different beast than 2D, and
100%.
that as a result, like you can have bad 3D games. Like I would even argue Mario 64, as fun as that game is, Mario 64 for me personally is worse than like Mario 3, Super Mario World.
Hmm.
Like I'm not sure if there's any other Mario games that give it to that are better like in the 2D era, but those two Mario's in particular, I think, are way better than Mario 64. Just because Super Mario World came out at a time when the SNES was like an open book for people, for developers, and they knew how to make that thing run perfect and do
Hmm.
everything right. The feelings was great, the way like you controlled the character, and Super Mario 64 was like innovating in that space in 3D. They were solving problems you
Oh,
never even had to
100%.
solve. You didn't have to worry about depth perception in a Mario game before. So it was you didn't have to worry about how hard it was to judge the distance from the platform to you. How far do you jump? If you fall off a ledge, where are you going to land exactly? In a 2D game, you can easily, quickly be like, if I fall off this ledge, I'm going to drop right there. You can't do that in a 3D space without things like drop shadows or other objects to help you like orient yourself.
Hmm.
There was a lot, and like movements and camera controls. Like there was so much in Mario 64 they had to figure out. But if you take a game on, Super Nintendo was what the second Nintendo 2D generation, basically,
Yeah, for the most
like
part. Hmm.
not counting like handhelds and stuff.
Sure.
So somewhere in the middle of the second generation of that, you had that. Nintendo's second generation of 3D gaming would be like the GameCube, and the game that dropped in the middle of that would be Mario Sunshine, which, as far as I can tell, Mario Sunshine hit all the spots pretty on point.
Sure.
The development was fine. Like you didn't have to worry about that. Problems were solved. You know what I mean? And now, 15 years down the road from that point, you've got the Nintendo Switch. You've got stuff like Mario Odyssey. Like that game feels like as good as Super Mario World feels on Super Nintendo because everything is so polished and so refined, and everybody knows what makes good game design in those kinds of spaces now. Like you didn't have to worry about that game coming out badly, and that's why I say like unless we come out with some weird new like 4D or VR or some garbage, like you wouldn't have to worry about a new Mario game failing in that regard. You know what I mean? It would only fail if they tried some weird new thematic or mechanic. Um, and I guess like that'd be like the argument for like Breath of the Wild, right? Because for a lot of people who don't like Breath of the Wild, it is because it broke the normals for Zelda. It wasn't another Ocarina of Time. It was an attempt at something different,
Hmm.
and for some people that fell flat. You know what I mean? Item durability sucks. The map is huge but empty at times, which
Hmm.
can suck for some people. But Mario Odyssey didn't do that. Mario Odyssey was literally like, what if we just made another Mario 64 but with new mechanics and it was more fun?
Hmm.
And I think it killed. I think Odyssey is my favorite Mario too. I would agree with him on that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid
And
title. I enjoyed it.
I'm not sure if it's just because it's the newest and it's like the least clunky, most effective way to do a Mario game. Like if you redid 64 or like Sunshine with like those controls and that environment, maybe it would be better. I don't know, but and nostalgia plays a role. It's hard to say
Sure.
like, you know, because like for a lot of people, dude, especially in the Zelda community, best Zelda game of all time. They'll be like Ocarina of Time, and you'll be like Ocarina of Time was a bad game in a lot of ways, and they're like, I don't care, it was the best Zelda game of all time, and it's like,
You get the same shit with
okay,
Final Fantasy heads, like Final Fantasy VII is the best game of all time, and there's
oh
no
yeah,
talking to them. And
dude,
I was
like
one of those people for like the longest time, and I'm still kind of mixed as to I'm torn between if Final Fantasy 6, 7, or 10 is better for me.
right,
And I love 9. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, yeah,
I can't I can't put 4 in my top one slot. It's hard enough to win 3 in
sure,
there. So
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing with a lot of people is like, we talk Final Fantasy, and you'll be like, what's usually the community seems to say like the best Final Fantasy of all time is 7. But seven's also the most like divisive in terms of a lot of people being like, it shouldn't be the best Final Fantasy. It should be other stuff.
mhm.
And if you really think about it, it's the same problem, right? 7 does a lot of things right, just like Ocarina does a lot of things right.
Mhm.
But if you fast forward down the line to like stuff like 10, all that stuff has been done way, way better now because we've had the improvements in technology. Like, I mean, like look at FF7 on paper, and then look at 10, and like voice acting was added, the animation was better, like all the models were much better. That's a product of time, obviously, but you can't just dismiss it because like
Sure.
Final Fantasy 4, same thing, Super Nintendo game, or yeah, they were on the Super Nintendo around the time, if I'm not mistaken.
And at
Maybe
the end of the
NES.
day,
Ooh,
you have to admit. I mean, you couldn't have gotten here without taking that step first.
oh
And
yeah,
Mario
absolutely.
64
Those
was
had to
that
happen.
first step. They had exactly
Yeah.
they had to happen. I go back and play it. Like I'll play Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo any day of the week. What you
Yeah.
need to do is right in front of you. With Mario 64, you have to learn the nuances, and the nuances is judging your jumps, learning like how to get to the hidden shit, what triggers the hidden shit, what triggers doors to open, and all this goofy
hmm
shit. And it was just like I don't feel like learning all this over again.
Well, not just that, but like Super Nintendo's Super Mario World, it controls really well. It feels like butter, right?
Oh,
At no point do
100%.
you feel like, at no point do you make mistakes in that game and be like, oh, it's bullshit, I did this. Oh, it's bullshit, I jumped. Oh, it's bullshit, that shouldn't have hit me. Everything feels really good. They've had a lot of time to perfect the Mario game in a 2D space. Mario 64 has a lot of like, you move the analog stick a little and Mario does like a weird turn move because you're like like okay, and
Right.
you move the camera and the camera gets stuck on weird geometry so you can't get an angle on your jump at all, and you're like, oh, I can't even see what I'm doing. Or like enemies will bump into you and the camera will get turned around because of it, and the enemy ends up in the corner behind you running in the corner like an idiot because he's stuck in the geometry and now you can't see him, and you know he's there because you can hear his stupid noise making noise at you, and you can't get yourself under control for your moving yet because there's a platform against your back that you can't see either, and you're trying to move along it, and it's like it's a hot mess because it was made for the N64 right out the gates and they didn't have any previous experience making
Sure.
3D games.
And that was a
It
time where
paved the way,
like you're talking about like
but
cameras and stuff, where it's like cameras
oh
didn't
yeah.
like when you put a camera behind a wall, it just didn't know how to behave, and
Mm-hmm.
there was an extra step of programming that has to go into that
Oh
for it
yeah,
to either
dude.
a go through a wall or b flip or turn off a texture map in real time so that you can see what
Oh
your
yeah.
character's doing.
Oh, dude, how many times have we seen like if you looked at a modern game like Elden Ring or Horizon Zero Dawn,
Hmm.
if you compared it to like how Mario 64 runs, you know how many times in Mario 64 you can see outside of your environment by seeing through walls, seeing through floors, seeing through objects at weird angles? It's like non-stop, dude. Like
Hmm.
I don't know if you can get a solid single frame of Mario that's not a cutscene, where like you're not looking through the corner of a wall or the corner of a floor or a body of water or something like at any given moment, like you're just looking through something because there was no way to make it work, right?
Right.
Like they didn't have the tools available today. Um, and that's the problem with things like Ocarina has that same issue where it's like I respect the hell out of Ocarina for doing what it did. I mean, hell, Majora's Mask was basically just a reorganized Ocarina with some paint on it
Hmm.
and a lot better theming in my opinion, way better like writing and theming, but that's a whole other story.
100%.
But like I can look at a game like Ocarina and be like, Ocarina is absolutely like the heart of Zelda moving into the modern world. And it's very important that it did a lot of things right. It invented Z targeting.
Yeah.
It did drop shadow stuff. Like a lot of that stuff was right. But like holy shit, making people wait for stuff constantly in that game, waiting for doors, waiting for treasure chests, waiting for enemy openings to strike them.
Weird slow cutscenes
That
for
was
door
not
openings.
fun.
Right.
Like, that wasn't hard or anything. It was just waiting. And as a kid, it seemed awesome because you had to be smart about how you fought stuff. But like, if you go back and you play something more like Twilight Princess or the new Skyward Sword, and then you go back and play Ocarina, you're like, holy shit, a lot of these systems weren't here at the time, and it feels terrible not having them anymore. Like, oh my god, you know? And same thing with FF7. FF7 has a lot of things that it does right, and it's awesome. But there are a lot of things that you take for granted when you go back and play 7, like, that you would not want to have to go back and play again. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And yeah, and that goes back to the same thing, though. Like, if you step back a game from 7, you have 6. And 6 was like butter, because it was at the end of, like, the Super Nintendo lifespan. It knew how to use its technology that was available. It knew how to use its design and its toolkit and everything. So 6 was like a masterpiece, whereas 7 was like groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
But in retrospect, 7 does not hold up at all. I've tried to replay that game several times. It does not hold my attention the way that it used to as a kid. Whereas 6, I feel like you could sit down and play 6 again, and it would feel like it felt the first time you played it.
There's just something about that generation where it's just so fucking easy to go back to.
I think it's because it was I think it was like the tail end of that type of development, where that type of development had been nailed by so many developers that there was a great way to do stuff. And I think with our current generation of like Switch games and PS5 games and current PC and stuff, you see that sometimes there are games coming out nowadays that, like, I mean, you've seen things like Borderlands and stuff. You can go back to play Borderlands 2 or something any day of the week, and it probably feels as good as it did back then, because most of those systems were already figured out, and they knew how to make it feel good, and they knew how to make it look good, and the art style is never going to go away. You could probably play Wind Waker 20 years from now, and that game is going to look not like a current gen game, but it'll feel just fine, and it'll look great. It won't look bad or anything.
They did a bunch of updates to it on the Wii U, like lighting and shit, and I didn't like it.
That's one way to burn yourself on that, because if it's already like got an art style that's nice, you don't need to fuck with it.
Well, if it's cell shade and then you start putting like realistic lighting, that's a complete opposition of what cell shading is. Like, it's completely conflicts with that style.
Well,
I hated that. Hopefully, if they do, I couldn't remember if you can turn that off or not. But if there's an option to, I would in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, go back and look at, like, you know what's a good example? You ever see the game Okami?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okami's never going to look bad, no matter what you do with that. No matter how long into the future we are, that game's just going to look good. And it's not like that the way they did the art style. You know, like, what do they call it? I've seen developers.
It's like a cell shade Japanese watercolor almost.
Yeah. I've seen developers have like a name for this premise, but it's basically like stylized art that's like well thought out will always hold up forever. It's just a nature of the medium. Like, if you do like good lights and darks, if you do good contrasts and conflicts in certain ways, and you do good fluid motions, even though like you're using like outdated tech, it'll never look bad after that, because you've set it up to succeed forever. Yeah.
Or you look at like games that try to be realistic, you go back and play like an original Call of Duty, and you're like, "Fuck, what is this?"
Yeah, well, because at the time, the same thing with Ocarina of Time. They were taking steps forward with the technology at the time, which is awesome, but that doesn't hold up in the long run, because you're trying new things and you're experimenting and you're trying to refine the process. It will look worse over time. It's just it's going to happen because the progress is built upon those types of things. You can't progress on the back of cell shade. Cell shade is a done format. It looks good when you do it that way. I mean, dude, look at the new Ninja Turtles game we're getting this summer. It looks like the arcade games, right? Like, it looks like a 90s arcade machine, maybe cleaned up and touched up a little where you could, but like at its core, it's a 90s arcade game. The animation style, the coloring, everything screams arcade machine.
Oh yeah.
And you could make that game 50 years from now, and I don't care if you're on the PS10, it'll look great.
Yeah,
it'll
100%.
feel good. It'll feel dynamic. You won't be like, I can't tell where the player character is. I can't tell where the enemies are. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, no, it'll always look fine.
You ain't wrong, man.
It's like this thing behind me. It'll never get old.
Venus. All right. Well, I think that is our show for the week. I really don't have much else to add to this. So we'll be back next Sunday with another show, of course. We have the SuperScope podcast every Sunday. We'll be back then Tuesday and Wednesday for more Lego Star Wars. and then Jackbox Saturday, of course. And if you don't see me here, I'll be over in Dicecase's stream modding his. Yeah, we're do some Chrono Trigger over there, baby.
Hang on, we have to do a thing still.
A thing?
Yes, I need you to bring up this picture. It's important.
Oh no!
Here, open this. It's Mother's Day, and we have to pay respects. The video game's best mother.
All right, let me see if I can.
And it's not the game the game mother. Although a lot of people probably wish that it was.
All right, let me fuck this up. Why is it saying open link? I just want to save the image.
That could be worse. At least I didn't send you like the reverse shot of your Tifa statue and be like, post it.
All right.
She didn't have kids, did she?
Tifa?
I don't think so.
No.
Not like biological kids. I guess like she sort of had. In Advent Children, they were like raising a kid.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Was it Lorenzo? I forget.
I forget his name, but yeah, there you go. Look at that.
There we go.
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day out there.
Happy Mother's Day to the hardworking boss moms who are doing everything they can to raise their thousands of space pirates correctly. You know, in a crazy world where bounty hunters come knocking on your door.
You hate to see.
I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know.
I don't either, man. All right, you can find me over on Twitter and Instagram, Game Dude Retro, and then Retro Game Dude on Twitch and TikTok. I'm about to go order me a Tifa statue, and we will see you guys next week. Have a good week, guys.
Hey, everybody.